Okay, everybody, welcome back to Hero Labs Live. Your host, RT and Nick Cote, episode 71. Bitcoin just made an all-time high as I speak. Literally, oh my God. Okay, we're going straight to the chart here. Bitcoin is either blowing off some smoke here. That was a massive wick. That was like a $500 wick on the minute.
On the minute chart.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. Must have better chart. Here we go. That's why I was laughing when we came on, because I was like, holy shit. This is the chart I put up yesterday, basically saying, look, like if we break this, make a new high here on this channel, that's looking strong and it needs to be on volume. And then the volume came in. It exceeded this previous volume that had basically said, maybe we're going to pull back a bit. And it said, nah, I think the bulls are here. Well, let's zoom in to the 5 minute, which is what I've got in front of me. I mean, hey, we're live, and Bitcoin has responded in due time. Always seems to get excited during the stream. I get this feeling like, holy shit, I should be trading. But let's be honest, not been doing a whole lot of bidirectional trading right now. And the reason for that is algorithmic stablecoins, in short. Altcoins aren't that sexy. I've got my spot exposure to ETH and Bitcoin, and I've been just going ham with dollar protocol. So yeah, that's it. I've been charting, trying to keep an eye on things, monitoring things like Bitcoin dominance, which doesn't me right now from an altcoin perspective. It's just exploding upwards, and ETH BTC could have just caught a bounce. It's part of what we put in the teaser tweet. Like, did it just catch a bid? That's a big buy volume coming in off what I believe was monthly demand. If you kind of zoom out to the monthly, right, you've got that sort of block here, and it just kind of dipped in and came back up, and the weekly closed strong after sort of dipping into this reload zone. Still a lot of work to be done in this chart from a weekly perspective, but that's kind of the stuff I'm watching. We're getting into the end of the year. Like we talked about a bit on Monday, like I'm kind of cleaning up the books, sorting myself out, doing a little bit of that reflective shit, seeing, where I started, where I'm at, where I want to go moving forward. But look at that breakout. I mean, this is crazy. And, sometimes you see that volume and that's new buyers saying buy, 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 buy. And a lot of times when you're up against highs, especially in this case, because we kind of look, I mean, this is the third attempt here, right? Came up, kind of put in an M top last night, smashed down overnight to shake out all the late longs, and then squeezed back up. So there's a lot of stop loss liquidity up against these highs. And so when this candle blows up there, some of this buying is shorts covering their position. So it'd actually be nice to have a discussion on sort of how to tell the difference between like, hey, is this a big short cover and, a squeeze, or is this like fresh buys coming in? I guess looking at spot markets versus perps would probably help with that. But anyways.
You can determine that by looking at the OI.
Okay. That's actually admittedly something I do more of, like from other people's analysis. I see OI stuff, like it's not part of my bread and butter day to day looking at. It's something it should be. It's pretty powerful info. Do you have any data on that? I know you are much more analytics savvy with that kind of data. Do you have something you want to maybe let's see what just happened to the OI on all of this?
I don't have anything available on that. I think I just let my skew
Chris Richard
roll over. But normally, yeah, you could use skew. I think Tensor Charts offers some stuff on that as well.
I will say Binance actually has some info on like their specific, and you can actually see like, it tells you like top traders versus retail traders and like what their long short ratios and stuff. I do know a guy who loves to look at that stuff. Shout out to Linus back in the chat. Good to see you, brother. And Soheil, nice to talk to you again. And Chris Richards has the weirdest boner right now. And I got to say, I feel you, bro. Not directly, but, I understand. Odd way to put that. Dave Millett says, what's up? Hopefully kicking it in his usual spot outside the Walmart parking lot. Shout out. Edge Hunter says, hey, gang, jumped in the share. ETH pool today, scaling in. I agree with your RT. I appreciate that, man. I'm you guys are going to hear about it all the time from us. Nick and I in particular are fired up about some of these algorithmic stablecoins, and they're very complicated. They're a whole new thing. And as somebody who spent a lot of time on TA, I got to say, it took me some time to wrap my head around it. So if you're here and you're like, I want to know more, ask questions. We can make this a little bit more focused on what's hot. If you guys want to learn about it, we're obviously, I'm reading about it, talking about it a lot every day. We want to do some chart requests. We can do that. We want to talk about, when Ripple. I would just say not yet and leave it at that.
Good riddance.
Yeah, I don't know. Look at, oh God.
Those guys pocketed 650 million. They've been selling their shit for 6 years now.
Yeah. I don't ever think I liked them at all. I definitely traded them a bit. That's not even a good chart. Let's get right out to the meaty Finex chart that's got a lot more history on it. I mean, there's TA guys out there that are like, yeah, we're just tapping my level. But there's a time when fundamentals really run the show. And I'm all for buying the dips, and I'm all for the idea that, maybe the SEC shit rolls over and they just get fined heavily. And there's this like, yeah, Ripple's going to survive and XRP is going to be fine. And then there'll be this massive bounce or whatever. But good luck knowing exactly how and when that's going to happen. And certainly it doesn't seem like it'll happen on week 2 of the saga. So for perspective, let's just throw up a quick reminder. I mean, yeah, you can trade it along the way if you really want. I mean, it's probably the easiest short of the year, as I say that, having not shorted it, but because I wasn't sitting around staring at my futures charts that particular week. I seem to be on the algo train lately. But look, like market cap. Okay, we're number 4. Any room to fall from number 4?
Yeah, there's 99%.
Like, there's a little bit of room to go down here. I think some people would probably forget the time when Ripple was like 1/10 of a cent. I wasn't there for that, actually. I was just after that. I think it was like around a penny when I joined crypto or something, or whatever it was in May 2017. But point is, anything can go down with the right pressure. And I would not tell anyone that is asking me for financial advice, which I don't give, by the way. But I do have friends that are like, should I go buy Ripple? And I'm like, no. There's like, 6,500 coins or more? You're going to pick the one that the SEC is attacking?
Yeah, look at Maddie, cheeky comment there. Grayscale is buying up XRP, and at face value, it's true. However, look at the amounts that they're buying versus everything else that they're holding. We're talking tens of billions in Bitcoin versus $11 million in XRP. Like, it's not even a drop in the bucket. Like, that drop would have evaporated before it even hits the can. Put that in some perspective.
You put a little perspective in, and like I said, from a TA perspective, I mean, this is a sweet little level. It's pretty standard, actually. This is actually really like standard level. And you know what? Look, you could.
Standard.
It's pretty standard. It's
Ethereum breaking out here. New highs. Ethereum 752 perps and pumping.
We're coming into this major level.
Yeah,
GAN. Oh my God, 750. Yep. GAN, big GAN horizontal coming up. This is sort of like my popcorn level that I've been waiting for. We've explained it before, but basically, this big old GAN square sets out some horizontals. This horizontal put the bottom in the market, as it turns out. And the next one is right here. So we're going to see. I don't think it means it puts the top in, but they typically get some action. So 750 up to 8. You got these old highs over here watching around 850. That's a huge range. This is a tough spot to be taking levered trades in really in either direction, but especially to the short side. If you're trying to take a top here, the way to do that I know is not to try to take it on the big green candles, because you don't have anything to measure against, right? We talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
So
Ethereum's market structure is lagging Bitcoin so much. It's unbelievable. I see it on my chart. What I was really excited for, and I think I posted it on Twitter, was that we saw this February 2018 level support get respected. It flipped its support, and I was like, fucking hell, this thing is ultra bullish. And now we're coming up to that next big daily level up here, like 820, 800. I think we'll see a little bit of a pullback around there. It makes sense. But in terms of market structure, like Ethereum has so much more to go versus Bitcoin right now. Like if I had to be a betting man, which I am, I would expect that these levels get taken out sometime relatively soon. And those are even if you're not already in this trade, like what are we looking at? 11% upside from here, and then 29%. So the play, if you're not already long, it's a tough long high leverage right here. But once we do break above this 825 mark, you're going to have a really nice expansion trade up to that 985, 990. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for. And in terms of major supports, obviously this 550 level is huge. But moving forward, what I'll be looking for and where people should have been looking to get long at was this little block right here. Again, just the Wyckoff throwback off the daily, resistance becomes support, right? 680. And sure enough, I think you knew me, I was shorting it down. I think I was calling for 684, hit 690 or something. So got pretty close. But this is your invalidation level. I'd say for closing below 660, it's trouble. But right now we're breaking out Bitcoin all-time highs. Momentum definitely in the bull's house. Look at this volume here on the daily, right? Six green bars, and we know that we're going to be getting who's launching the futures? The CMEs. Yeah, CBOE is finally moving forward on the ETH futures stuff. So we've talked about the institutionalization in Bitcoin, and look at the effect that's had. Look at that 3-day chart, right? What do you think Ethereum is going to fucking look like once institutionalization hits this asset?
It's still not even at the highs. Not even close.
Exactly. The real institutional rally hasn't even begun. It's
kind of sick to think about. And we talk about, the liquidity wasn't there to the same extent it was for Bitcoin. And in some ways, it's still not even entirely there for Bitcoin for some of the major funds in the world that probably are taking a look at it now. But it's coming, and it's definitely next up. And I guess the only other one you could have said was maybe there was Ripple, and it's not XRP anyway. So, XRP's taking a bow out for now. Look, I'm a little speechless right now. I mean, ETH, look at the friggin' weekly versus Bitcoin. It's been pretty nasty here for a little bit, and we were looking at this and keep an eye on this, because if it breaks down, it's going to get ugly. And then we had a chance to get out, and we're trending down. But look, coming into some levels. I don't know why that gross, weird shaded yellow is there, but who was playing with yellow? This is insanely bullish potential as far as this big long bottom consolidation. This was a 56-day consolidation here. I remember we were tracking it at the start of the summer. Really strong breakout. We've cleaned that up, dipped into the demand, dipped into, I don't really speak in terms of demand and supply, but this was a big block on the monthly, and just wicked right back up. And I guess on the weekly, the volume's not that exciting, right? On the weekly, it's not too easy to see. But if you look here, I mean, the daily, that's a pretty big bump.
758.
Yeah. So I think we can expect some big things from Ethereum. I mean, and I love as it gets closer to the day, you'll start hearing people talk about the hype of ETH too. They'll be like, oh, it's going to be fast, and it's going to be such better fees, and it's going to be so much more scalable, and all of these dreams of the things that are being built on Ethereum are going to be, and then it'll be like, oh yeah, we knew that was coming. That wasn't a secret. But as it gets closer to the date, people, it's the way the market goes, and then you're going to be like, oh, it's 2,000's not enough, 5,000's not, 10,000's not. So, expecting big things. The fact that we're staring a major breakout in the face right now makes it a lot easier to say all this stuff. But pullbacks will be part of it. This is a big day, big breakout, and I love that it happened literally the second we went live today. Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. This is an exciting time to be in crypto, and even if this is the top for the next month, whatever it is, guys, this is cats out of the bag material. I mean, look at this weekly. which is the perspective that I'd like to keep in mind. I mean, again, I always go back to this. Like, I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked, if we just never traded this level again. But I've been shocked before, and we get, could be another couple of weeks, be 50K, could be like, and then it's like, and then it's like, you have no idea how that's going to play out. So again, for myself, I'm in some spot positions. I'm not really touching that much. I'm skimming here and there for some newer opportunities because there is so many things going on in the pre-sale and new coin listing space, and some of those things are coming out 5x, 10x, 20x. Like, I'm deploying in different ways, but I'm not rushing to call tops here. As far as, like, if anything, I'm like, oh, here's a chance where this big breakdown, meandering up into the short reload zone, I've got a lot of exposure. I can take a little short against those highs, and that's like an insurance policy. Oops, pay like 0.5% as a premium to just, insure myself. But I've only done that twice in the last month, and I've regretted it both times. But ultimately, that kind of stuff I don't mind, because along the way, it's almost like this little insurance premium. That's about as much, as I'm trying to do in anything other than being bullish. And if it hits on the 10th time, it'll be fine. But I'm not like hunting shorts actively. It's just if I have, like last night, I was like, oh, you know what? It's a nice little big dump here. If we squeeze right back up to that high, like, I don't mind squeezing in a little short there. Like, I'm actually kind of happy to see it get blown out, because my exposure is much more to the long side. Now, look, let's check in with the chat. Got some nice activity going on over here on TradingView today. Brechtman has come out and said, I have a question now. Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies are rising. We also see a rise in the crypto stock market, like Riot, Mara, BTBT. Yes, I want to go over those today if you're interested, because I actually put out a tweet and I was very disappointed. It got literally 0 likes. This was like 3 months ago. And the Bitcoin was rallying, ETH was rallying. They were all kind of out of the buy zones as far as like chintzy reload zone buys. And I said, look, guys, like, if crypto is going to do well and you don't know what's going on with crypto or whatever, or like, you can get proxies in the stock market. And I listed like 8 stock charts. I'm going to go pull that up just so I don't sound like a LARP. And, I didn't even long them all. I've got some exposure to a few, and they're all just fucking mooning right now. Like, Hut 8 and Riot, and even that Bitfarms one. Remember, Nick, you talked to me about Bitfarms in like May?
Yeah.
May as well pull it up right now. Let's go Bitfarms.
All those companies you just listed, well, at least 2 of them, got definitely bailed out at the perfect timing with the Bitcoin rally, because they were facing insolvency.
Yeah, look at this thing. I mean, like, look, I love a good crypto account, and most of my net worth is in crypto, but a good amount. I'm trying to spread it out a bit, and I'm bullish on crypto. Like, there's a lot of stocks, and then obviously with stock accounts, you can get things like, tax-free savings and retirement accounts. Like, there are ways. You don't want to just go ridiculous and expose your entire life to one sector, but certainly buying at all these highs. But don't assume that just holding and buying Bitcoin is the only way to benefit. I mean, Galaxy, Jesus, this thing, I actually bought. I missed Galaxy by 4 cents in March. I was trying to pick some up in like the low 50s. And I was like, oh, I missed that. Okay, we'll see. And like, kick myself now. But this is Mike Novogratz's stock. So that's my like one like oops story of March lows. I was buying up some like stinky little Bitcoin ones, but like I picked up Hut. I mean, look at this thing. Jesus. Wow. I sold another little chunk yesterday because I'm just like, okay, this is like whatever, quadrupled. Supposed to be selling halves on doubles.
I mean, luckily, technically they should run for this entire bull cycle. Like, yeah, the amount of inflows into institutional mining is fucking astronomical right now. So we just had the happening now. Like, this should, it's the easiest sector to trade. Like, we know the economic model that drives their underlying core business, which is the price of Bitcoin. So
which is coming up. Yeah, it's doing well. And if you think about this, like the all-time highs in Bitcoin in 2017, these also had a big rally, and you could see the volume. It's like, oh wow, it's crazy volume. And then like, look what's happening now.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, before, hardly anybody was paying attention to this in the legacy space. But now you have a whole new type of capital, which is institutional capital. And so I suspect that these charts are actually going to trend up and sideways versus what we saw back there in 2017, because that was like the end. That was going into the long icy bear market, and like maybe Bitcoin was still a little uncertain from the institutional side. But between that gap of these two pumps, all of that uncertainty and risk has been kind of like mitigated, or is very close to being relieved. So I suspect that we're just going to continue to see upwards movements in these stocks, and upwards and sideways, especially if they continue to expand their operations. Right, that'd be very interesting. Plotting the hash rate ownership of these companies, and then seeing if they perform in perform accordingly to the amount of hash rate that they hold, right? So the idea would be, if you guys have more hash rate, you're generating more coin. Are you going to have higher price? Is the market going to value you greater than one of your competitors who might be a smaller operation or something like that? So
trying to find some correlations there.
Yeah,
like a new analysis, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I've always said, like, people in the legacy space have always had troubles valuing crypto because all their models that they used before don't really necessarily apply, to these. Like, there's no service offering that these companies offer customers, right? Like, they're just mining a network. So it's tough to take old valuation metrics and apply it to these businesses. Super interesting. I think we're going to see a whole new wave of stock analysts form to accommodate this.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, it is a nascent technology. It's still very young, very new, and very inefficient in a way. So with that inefficiency, you can imagine there's just so much growth to come. This upwards and sideways stuff, as a crypto trader entirely, almost, I have a stock account that I opened earlier this year because I was just FOMOing, man. I'm in the, in the TRI lounge, and like these guys are just like firing off like, ooh, banged out another double, banged out another double, banged out another double. Ooh, this little VCIM stock. Like, and I'm just like, okay, like, guys, you got me. I'm going to fuck around with some stocks. But yeah, they move up and sideways a lot more than the bubbly.
Somebody in our chat just mentioned Pyre stock, and it's true. Those guys invested in YOP. Full disclosure, it's a project that we're working with.
Yes.
But look at the chart, man. Look at this thing. Look at the retest at 310. Like, that is classic Wyckoff. Like, what a fucking buy.
I know. And because we're working with them and we knew about that publication coming, I wasn't allowed to buy it. And then even after it came, I was like, I just I couldn't actually. I did try to buy it. It's a London Stock Exchange. I wasn't allowed to buy it. And now I'm just like, whatever. I'm happy that it's going crazy. And it sounds like our homie Mick in the chat picked up when he heard that announcement in YOP. I mean, they basically just said, hey, we're going to invest, Purez Investments. We're going to invest in this little blockchain startup called YOP. It's yield optimization DeFi platform. And they put 200K in and publicized it. And, look, a month later, they're getting part of that blockchain sort of hype exposure. But even already, like, this chart just looks sick. I mean, it just looked like this beautiful thing. And then even the second time, you're like, wow, fuck. Like, at least I have an invalidation with some pretty cool upside. So shout out to Purez Investments for taking the plunge into crypto at apparently just the right time. Everything that's touching crypto, I can't believe Novogratz is stock here. Again, like, even at this consolidation, I was like, maybe I'll just pick some up. But I'm not a stock guy, so I always forget that, like, some of these things they just hold because there is underlying metrics, like you say. There's value. Like, they're not so speculative where, like, the next day. But I mean, I'm not buying up here. Obviously, I'm not even thinking about buying up here. I'm thinking about why maybe I didn't buy here, and more importantly, because that's kind of like useless thinking. More importantly, I'm just looking at things like this, and I'm like, okay, like, oh, look at that, just tag the pump tracer zone. Like, I can find my way into these in small doses if I need to during this insane rally. But again, looking at Bitcoin, this is not a place where I suddenly go, I'm going to change my investment thesis and get really super hyper bullish and throw all this extra risk on the table. There's a time for that. And in fact, like, that was here. That was like, I'm going to get hyper bullish and start throwing a little extra risk on the table. I never once told my mom to buy Bitcoin. And then in March, I just called her up. I was like, Mom, you got to go buy some Bitcoin. Like, there's a time when you tell people you love to do risky things. This is not the time, even though I think we're going to keep going up. And, you know, as it turns out, like, this was a scary time. Like, I almost was like, you know, I was like, you know, do it, but you could lose everything. But, you know, as it turns out, like, it's during those weird, and there will be dips. We haven't seen what, 2 red candles in the last like 15 weeks. There will be dips, but they might be, you know, it might be a dip from 47K down to 28K. Like, we don't know. But there will be one. And when those days come, you know, get a little spicy with the excitement, and then, you know, take a look at these like Bit Farms and Hut 8 and Riot. We'll come back to these. There's a bunch, guys.
I quickly wanted to go over just the Pyres chart one, because there are actually some really great trade opportunities that I just like.
Oh yeah, take a look at that. That's the other thing too, right? For Pyres especially, like, that one's not as like bubbly as some of these others that like.
No, it's really, the move hasn't really started. Like, if this thing's closing above 685, look at these 2 trade setups here. This is a weekly chart. You'd be targeting like $11 and a further upside 17. And your risk on this is, you know, for just closing below what we just talked about. So say you took the trade, you know, from up here, your risk, well, I guess that'd be pretty significant. But yeah, it would have to be down at, you know, 3.4. But yeah, I think, you know, a lot of stocks are going to ride this trend. I think you're going to see a lot more companies following in Sailor Moon's footsteps. It's MicroStrategy, if anybody doesn't already know. And yeah, I think it's, you know, the narrative is there. And as Bitcoin and crypto appreciates in price, it actually becomes a more investable asset class as liquidity is greater, and the price movements from large orders are going to be significantly less as that, you know, we get more liquid. Another really great chart we should be looking at, because we've been waiting for this and calling it for a while, is DOTS. Polkadot.
Yeah, DOTS coming out hot, and the, you know, for those of you who missed the USD move, the Bitcoin chart is just getting started, if it's going to go.
Yeah, 100%.
What's your take on it? I have a hard time looking at that one and saying I need to long. What are you looking at?
Sure. So I actually just got off a call with Hypersphere yesterday. If anybody doesn't know, they're one of like the most predominant, well-known funds in the Polkadot ecosystem. It's founded by one of the Polkadot co-founders, actually. So, you know, if they're going to, you know, they know stuff. Basically, parachains are going to be going live next month through Kusama. We'll be the first ones to have those auctions. And then Moonbeam, which we love, will be going live in May. And a little birdie told me that there will be another private sale for Moonbeam. So probably going to be aping into that in the coming days. That's a no-brainer. But yeah, Polkadot's here. Finally, we got a really great breakout in volume. This is a 3-day chart that we're looking at here. No divs to be seen here. Again, this looks super strong, guys. Right now, they're level to hold for validation of a false breakout, which I do not think this is that $6 level now, right? So, and we've kind of already seen that wick. Let's see what this looked like in the lower time frames. Yeah, look at that. Nice breakout, and then the retest, and then it goes. Right? This is just confirmed, huge confirmations of bull. If you're looking to get in, you're probably, if you're patient and waiting for a dip, I guess you're going to be hoping that we see prices back down there at 665, 67.
Look at the volume too on the breakout. Like, that speaks to a greater expansion move.
Oh yeah, like we've been saying for months now that this is just a huge giant accumulation. Like, it's so obvious when you see price stuck in a range like this and just constantly making these higher lows, like that is just fucking obvious accumulation. And sure enough, it started to move. Like, and then, well, where's it going to go? Well, you know, let's take a quick look at, you know, where we've seen this range trading here. So about a 42% range. So let's take a range expansion. That lines us up with around $9. So I have full confidence that we're headed there. Like, I see Polkadots as a top 4 asset by the end of the year, 2021.
Yeah, and you know what's funny too is that it's kind of a known that those parachains are coming and Polkadot's going to be big and it's an interop. But when they actually come out and announce them specifically to the day and all that, it'll pump just on those days, and then it'll be like, wait, didn't like? I find that fascinating about markets. It's like we kind of already know that's coming, but price hasn't reacted, and then they'll announce it, and then it'll be all over Twitter. It'll be like, oh, and then it's like, okay.
Like, if you want to be, like we've said it on the stream countless times, like if you want to be front running the market, you need to be like for the best opportunities. You need to be looking at the layer 2 on Polkadots, right? This is Kusama, right? These guys went from like less than a fucking penny to $63 now. Same thing as Dots, right? It's been in an accumulation range, and it's finally a little less time-wise, but also a much wider range. So today it's at the top of the range. I do think this is going higher. Can I justify from a TA point of view buying resistance and telling you guys to do that? No, I can't. But do I think prices are going higher in the next 30 days? Yes, I do.
So that's a really hard concept to grasp, I think, for a lot of people who are maybe not seasoned traders. They say, well, if you think it's going higher, then like, what's all always about? Just get some. And I guess that comes back to managing risk and
exactly
the downside potential. Where's your invalidation if you're wrong? And sometimes, end of the day, you are. And yeah, I'm with you on that. But just wanted to step in there because I know I used to get that absurd. People would be like, well, you can't buy here, but it's definitely going up. I'm like, well, what?
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, if you're bullish on it, just buy it. But the point is, and we talk about this all the time, there are ways to get into things that are moving up in a way that not only do they reduce your risk of making emotional decisions where like, okay, you go buy it today, and then maybe for a week it just pulls back viciously 10, 15, 20%. And then you're like, oh no, I was wrong. I'm so stupid. And then you sell it on the dip you probably should have been buying. Like,
exactly.
You just got to be, there's a zigzag pattern in this kind of shit, and you got to be on the right side of that.
Yeah, but I expect KSM to hit $100 in 2021, no problem.
Hey, what was your level on DOT? Because I put a fib extension on it just to see if we lined up. Mine's at 990. What was it? Yours like 9?
Yeah, mine was on like 910 off my head. Just like
there you go. So I mean, your expansion range, and then you flip over to my like pretty standard. It's like, oh look, we got the low, we got the high. Let's extend it. If we break out of this range, that's probably the next sort of big area where the take profit will step in, and that there will be some kind of invisible level up here, and that's really right around where you're at. So if what a level. I actually opened up my chart the other day and I was like, oh shit, where were my bids? Dollar protocol keeping me off the charts for weeks, but look, I can't complain. It's all gravy. But look, this is a nice. Look at that pump chaser fib confluent with, that's actually a level I might have to go take a look at here, because we just flipped that. So, and then there's even sort of that 618 pullback, which is confluent here. So there's some levels in here, and I'm gonna be chasing this one a bit, and I'll do it the right way because I want to get some DOT.
I think the other one to like the exciting projects coming out in the DOT ecosystem, like I know PolkaSwap is going to be coming out soon. It's another like AMM, but obviously PolkaStarter has a first mover advantage there for the Launchpad DEX, and they just finished their final distribution to private investors yesterday. And I want to point people's attention, like I'm super bullish. I think this thing is headed to $1 plus. Look at this chart, like holy fuck, and it's just amazing. It is coming up to daily resistance here. Again, they're just wicks. And now that all the distributions are out of the way, that's a huge relief of sell pressure. But at the same time, was there really a lot of sell pressure? Because let me point, this is what I've been saying, why I've been like so bullish on this stuff. This was distribution number 1. It got sold down, right, to 8 cents and bought right back up. Distribution number 2, exact same thing. So sells down to 17 cents. That's the bottom. That thing got bought up aggressively and then rallied 4x. Same thing here on the 29th. Again, right? Final distribution spikes down to 44. So don't you see a trend? Higher lows, guys, on distributions. 10 cent low, 17 cent low, 44 cent low.
Yeah.
And look at the volume. The buy volume's increasing on every single distribution. Like,
So
what
when
is
you
that?
have supply hitting the market on higher lows, that's really strength
Yeah,
internally.
exactly. It tells me that there's a huge underlying demand for these tokens, right? Like it's
Yeah.
and like
Well,
all
and
the
Starter's been hot lately. Everything coming out on that thing's been mooning.
10x pretty much on absolutely everything that's launching there. So it's
Yeah.
the platform is doing well. They got really good network effect behind them. Yeah, I speak with Daniel. The team's continuously crushing it on the execution side. They're expanding partnerships, exchange listings. Like it's a hot project. They're executing really well. And like that's you can have the greatest project, greatest team, greatest narrative. If you can't execute, then none of it matters. So that's
Well, and that's
hats
going to attract
off
more and
that.
more, right?
Exactly.
The nature of a launch pad, if it's successful launches, then everyone wants to launch there, and then it's this positive feedback loop.
Yeah. So all these things just looking so fucking strong. And I quickly want to just touch on the US dollar here. Obviously, the Trump stimulus is coming through here again. QE will be it's definitely going to stay, but we'll see. They're going to try and stagger it a little bit. We'll see if they can do that. Depends what this second wave of coronavirus does and if they do any lockdowns on small businesses. Small businesses are basically just getting slaughtered this past year. Anyways, this is a huge level here on the US dollar, monthly, yearly, weekly, daily, whatever time frame you want to look at. It's huge. Obviously, turns out rapidly inflating your monetary base is a bad thing. USD down 10% since March, which is quite significant.
If you want that, but Andreas Antonopoulos once said on a London Real interview, which I thought was interesting, he said that governments are actually in a rush to devalue their currencies to offset because it like lowers their debt or something. And I thought that was interesting. I always thought, your country wants your currency to be strong, but apparently it's like this race to deflate.
It depends. It depends. Like if you're an importer, export. If you're an exporter, you would want a weaker currency because then it encourages more exports.
There's more to it. Yeah. When he said that, I just kind of like, again, I'm not a, believe it or not, I'm not big on like all that. What do you even call it? Economics. But I thought that was interesting because I always just had this assumption held that the U.S. government wants a strong U.S. dollar, and to some extent they probably do. But apparently, you can basically wipe your debt relative value down by just I owe you $4 trillion US dollars. Well, joke's on you because those things are worth half as much now, but I still only owe you 4 trillion of them.
No,
like that kind of thing. I don't know, some big sneaky game that governments are playing. But so rolling back to Brechtman in the TradingView chat, your question really was about all these like Mara, BTB, Riot. They're going to keep rising, or do you think it's a hype? And I mean, for sure there will be dips. Just markets will, and I would say this is my one opportunity. Once in a while, I actually tweet things that are pretty good. So if you guys don't already, follow me on Twitter at randomtask555, because on November 17th, I pointed this out. I said, blockchain stocks are breaking out. Bitcoin's near previous all-time highs. Local top soon, perhaps, but oh baby, this party is just getting started. Like that was my vibe in November. You can see Riot, Hive blockchain, like some of these are just exploded right now. So do I have that same feeling where I'm saying like, hey, let's rush into these now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no. What was this, like November 17th? Like it was just breaking out, right? I mean, we're up 6x from there. Like now is a time to be paying yourself if you were early and often, and probably, definitely like there's some gaps, like, yeah. So long story short, this is not a time to be, in my opinion, this is not a time where I am rushing to buy these highs. But I absolutely think as a sector, the crypto stocks are just getting started on more of a broader time scale, 5, 10 years, stuff like that. So, dips, fibs, reload zones, like all that kind of stuff, I'm all over it. And if it takes 2 years to get a fill, so be it. But I'll follow my plan. Now, let's get through a couple in the chat. I mean, I'm seeing the chat just buzzing down. We've got Sheplake, we've got Crosby Venture from TradingView hanging out in the house today. Good to see you guys. We got some coins flying in from TradingView. Appreciate you guys for that. Big shout out to you for hosting our stream. And let's just check the chat because we've been flying here. We got some really interesting questions here. You know, I love to talk about Dollar Protocol. I know Nick loves to talk about Dollar Protocol. We were up till 3 a.m. last night talking about Dollar Protocol. So maybe it's a good time to shift gears into that. It's such a friggin' hot and yet convoluted topic.
Yeah. Quickly before I shift into that, I just want to make one comment on the S&P. It looks healthy. It's bullish as long as we're holding this daily level there at 3,600 with QE and QE, more stimulus, etc. This should just keep rising. And eventually, yeah, it's going to have dips, but they're probably just going to get bought up. As long as current monetary policy holds, expectations hold the course, the trend should just continue. But enough of that. Let's get into the good stuff. The algo stable coins.
Algorithmic stable coins. And I think for those of you who are asking specifics about Dollar Protocol, you probably have done the once over. And I think we should start where I just had my epiphany because I didn't really get it. I was like, but why though? Why with all this rebase? Why with all this, Ample being the first example? And I think there we go. Simple example. I think in a nutshell, centralized stable coins, they have gateways. They are subject to regulations. They are under threat, perhaps, from some sanctions or regulations, blah, blah, blah. And there's this search going on right now, this race to develop an algorithm that creates what inevitably ends up being a stable coin. And it doesn't do it because there's market makers on both sides and there's dollars that are actually in a bank somewhere behind it. It literally just does it because the behavioral incentives are there perfectly balanced so that at the end of the day, you get a functional coin that can be expected to return to $1 each time it leaves its peg shortly after. And that race is on. And you're seeing things like Ample start the race. And you're seeing ESD, empty set dollar. You're seeing DSD, a fork of empty set dollar. You're seeing Dollar Protocol, a white paper which was published 2014, 2015?
2014, yeah.
And only just built earlier this year. And so you're going to see a lot of changes to the protocol. You're going to see, I think there's actually on Dollar Protocol, there's a new proposal going live tomorrow. They're shifting, right? Percentage seigniorage is going to go this way, going to go that way. And it's all just in this attempt to find the perfect, balance so that the behavior of humans essentially can be depended on to maintain that stability. And then that dollar can be used in DeFi and all kinds of other use cases that then aren't necessarily under threat because there is no centralized thing you can shut it down on. And that's friggin' exciting. So there's my opener. What do you got on DP? Nicholas. Did I get disconnected?
Sorry, I had somebody at the door.
Okay. I was like, holy shit, I'm offline. I checked my internet. Okay. So let's talk share. I mean, I know everyone, I think the big question is like, what's the alpha? What's the play? That's what I want to know. Like, I'm not in DSD. I could have been 3 times now. I was told about it well before it started and and then I'm always like hesitant because I don't know, I hear about coupons, I hear about bonds, I hear about this. I'm like, I don't want to just throw money into it and lose because I don't know what I'm doing. So let's focus on Dollar Protocol today because that's what we know best. What is your sort of short answer to someone who says like, how do I participate in this in the most productive way for myself?
Yeah, like there's really 3 strategies. One is, the most lucrative one from APY standpoint is going to be buying US dollars and then putting that into the USDC pool. That's the first strategy, and that's going to work well when we're in a positive rebase. You're going to earn all the seigniorage rewards off of that. When we move into a negative rebase, that's when you yes. I wonder what that one infographic is.
I'm going to disconnect my wallet from the site, but I don't know how. So you open it.
Yeah, like I don't think I really need the site right now because it's not going to have any of this information yet. There will be an FAQ wiki going live in the next couple of days that kind of like goes over all of that. But basically, shares is going to be receiving. It's the It's the year in finance of stablecoins. It's going to be receiving rewards on every asset that's in the ecosystem. So that's the US dollar, that's the yen, that's the won, and the euro. So each of those assets are going to be separate, right? But the idea is that we're designing a stable coin that is pegged to each of those on a one-to-one basis. So the share rewards, they receive 20%. Well, actually, when does that go live? So right now, everything receives 10%, but a governance proposal was pushed forward to mix up the rewards to incentivize the LPs much more. And shareholders also are beneficiary of that, receiving an extra 10% of the rewards on the first. And that's also your portal to governance. So short answer, shares is your long-term play. They're going to be earning 20% of the rebase rewards on every stable coin that's in the ecosystem, right? And the short-term play is providing liquidity into the USDC, USD.
Here, you can flip to my screen now if you want. All right. So yeah, you keep talking. I'm just going to illustrate. I think it helps to see it. There are pools on this site. Okay. And when US dollar, which USDX, if you're looking for it on like ChartX Pro, you can find it. You just have to search USD. And then I'm going to just do my best to walk you through this, guys. I mean, again, everything comes with risk. Everything comes with, this is not like a rush to buy, but a lot of people are asking about this. I'm personally consumed by it right now. I find it fascinating. And Nick's analysis on the macro sort of trends in this space is so on point. And so when he tells me, algorithmic stable coins, this is not just a quick short fad. Yes, there will be fakers. Yes, there will be clones and there will be rugs. But the real players in this that are just tiny and starting out, this is going to be a longer term trend. I believe him when he says that. So shout out to you, Nick, because it's a big part of why I'm spending so much time. I said, I can't just depend on passively hearing about it anymore. I have to dive into this and learn. So, but I guess what I'm saying is like, please, as with everything, don't take this as like, big buy recommendations and financial advice, but learn your stuff and we're here to teach. So when USDX is trading above $1.05, okay, and that specifically is on a TWAP, which is time-weighted average price, okay? When it's trading above that, then there is expected to be a positive rebase. So based on where you are, let's see, I guess we should just look at the newest governance, right? Because that's going to be going live soon. So this is how those rewards, those positive rebases will be distributed. I guess we could even click right through. Okay, so soon, right now it's a little bit different, but literally like in a couple of days, X bond holders, okay, anyone who is holding on to X bonds, who's minted them by basically locking up their USDX, all 40% of all rewards are going to be distributed to those holders. 20% of the rewards will be distributed to anyone holding share, just sitting in their wallet. Although that might change very soon with staking. Again, a lot of this stuff, a lot of proposals, a lot of changes, and that's a good thing. USDC and the USD pool is going to get supercharged, going up from 13% now to about 30%. Talk a bit about why that is. And then the share ETH pool will get a little bit. So going back over here, when that's in positive rebase, that's why you see people get so excited, because when it's trading above that for 12 hours, which it is right now, all of those rewards get dished out to people who have placed liquidity into these pools. So for that, for this one, take some Ethereum, take the equal amount of USDX at the time. You just click add liquidity, go to Uniswap, you add it, then you stake it on here. And then you basically just see right here a little value in blue that'll tell you what it's estimating you're going to get paid out. And then when this timer, which is every 12 hours, hits 0, the rebase happens, and you can go click here. You can click here, and you can just click a thing. It's like pending seigniorage, and you just click claim reward. You have to pay for a transaction, which is one of the knocks on this stuff. Sometimes they're $30, especially during rebases. It can get really full and chonky. But then, I think the alpha for me right now is claim those rewards, and I basically roll them right back into the pools. So if I get 100 USDX as a reward, I take 50 of it and I buy ETH, and then I take that $50 worth of ETH, and I take the remaining 50 USD and I just put it right back in. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also holding some share, and I'm also holding some X bond. Do you want to talk about the X bond thing? I mean, X bond is the big mystery, I think, and the whole
Basically, XBond can be compared to like ESD's coupon system. XBonds, the idea is that during a negative rebase, you are going to be losing your USD tokens, right? So people can then buy X bonds at a 1-to-1 ratio. So 1 USD is equal to 1 X bond at a negative rebase. And that protects you from losing any of your US dollar tokens during a negative rebase. And as time goes on, like if you go to the click bonds, then go to the implied price.
I'm on it here now. So I'm showing the mint right now. If you take $1 US right now in mint, you only get 0.32 X bond.
Yeah. So basically think of it as a bonding curve. The more X bonds that are minted and the more supply of USDs, the lower the ratio that's going to go. What that means is essentially your price to move into X bond increases. So that's why it's only, right now, it's best to get an X bond when there's a negative rebase, because that ratio reverts back to 1-to-1, right? So right now your dollar is only it has a purchasing power of 33% versus, right? Versus when we're in a negative rebase, 32.2%. Versus when we're in a negative rebase, you have a purchasing power of 1-to-1. So that's what I mean. That's what I mean by the ratios and stuff. It's protection for you not to lose value on your USD, and you'll also collect currently 50%, but that's going to be reduced to 40% of the positive rebase rewards.
Yeah, that's one of the changes they're doing, and the reason that is, people might be wondering, and we've been very much involved, with Robert, who is sort of the anonymous founder of this. The guy who wrote the white paper was named Robert, and I think this guy just named himself that. I got to say, having spoken with him quite a bit in chat and stuff, I get good vibes from him, but he is anonymous, and that's one of the underlying risks of all of this stuff, and why I'm just not like, all in, or why I'm taking profits. Like you just always got to keep your cost and risk basis and stuff. But point is, we've been talking to him quite a bit, and the reason that this boost in the USDC and USD pool is coming is because what we realized after this first cycle was that during positive rebase, people now realize that there's no incentive to go and buy into XBond and to mint, because the ratio is so bad. The play is really if it goes to negative and you're getting 1-to-1, right? So you come to this page and your $100 is now worth 100 X bond. Ooh, that's attractive. So in that case, it makes sense to go into X bond. But when you're in positive rebase, where's the incentive to not just sell your rewards? And that's what everyone was doing. And so now what they're going to do is they're going to boost up the rewards for people who post this liquidity. And that's USDC, USD. So it's like two stable coins, basically. So the impermanent loss risk is fairly small, and the reward for doing that is fairly high. And so the idea is, again, searching for this perfect protocol, this perfect algorithm that's going to incentivize everything to just basically grow and stay positive. And if anything, just hit $1 and then everyone X bonds and it just pops back up. Like, that's the idea. And if you incentivize people, instead of selling their rewards to just push it to negative rebase to get their X bond and blah, 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 instead now they're going to actually be better off posting all those rewards right back into the liquidity pool, because this is a bootstrapping phase, and the goal is to get this number to be much higher, total locked value. You need that number to be really high for this kind of thing to have the utility it's going to need, or that people want. You need lots of liquidity. You want to be able to move in, buy and sell and borrow and lend and all these things without affecting the price very much. Does that make sense? And I'm doing a good job here today trying to help you guys understand this, because it took me weeks, and even day to day we talk about this, and it's like, what about this? What about that?
I think that's the cool thing about all this stuff, guys, is that in the same thing in DeFi, everybody says it's all a giant experiment, monetary experiment. And that's essentially what this is. Like, what we're trying to do here is create a Federal Reserve Bank. Essentially, that's what seigniorage is, right?
I looked it up.
Yeah, seigniorage means is that capitalizing on, that's the cost of issuing new money. Like, it's the cost and the rewards of issuing new money. Issuing new money is extremely profitable, And that's where those rewards come from. Like that's the profit, like is the seigniorage and those supply expansions. And in this case, that cost or reward, however you look at it, is getting distributed back to the holders versus
to the people.
Exactly. Versus a central bank where that seigniorage is captured by them, by the issuers, right? So that's the big paradigm shift here, guys, is that we've taken the central bank model and applied that to a decentralized distributed network. And it's, it works well.
So can you think of any reason why somebody who created something like this would want to stay anonymous?
Yeah, like I think, definitely. I think early stablecoin use, and even now, for a lot of it, it's been maybe not so clean money, right? There's definitely a lot of tax evasion in crypto. There's a lot of money laundering. There's a lot of that in the traditional markets too. I'm not just
But the governments that control the actual currencies that these kinds of algorithmic stablecoins are trying to recreate, they are not going to want to sit by and necessarily allow that. They will try to interfere, and so it makes sense that it should be an anonymous founder. The second that they are public facing, there becomes again that centralized threat, that single point of failure, blah blah blah. So I was really impressed to see the governance model get rolled out. It's still very much in alpha. He has the ability to affect the outcomes of these still, and that's good. We want that. We don't want a skew in the shareholders to just like screw things up. I know there was some talk of crazy things like pushing share percentage up to 50% just because I hold all the share and I want to get paid most. It's like, well, that would just crush the protocol. So he's here to babysit it for a while, and I think that's a really good thing. That actually makes me feel better about it, not worse.
And I think that's the pathway that the majority of these quote unquote decentralized platforms take. You want to have some admin control over that until the network is proven to some degree that it's anti-fragile. I think that's the goal of any network, is to become anti-fragile. And until you can prove that your network is anti-fragile, you probably should have somebody still at the controls.
Yeah, you got to babysit it and set it off, teaching it to walk and holding its hand. And that actually, like I said, makes me feel better. At some point, it's like the plan is to step back. And nothing's really changed here, even on like share from a TA perspective, right? A nice big breakout, tap off the sweet spot. So beautiful, right up here. Not a ton of volume in that. You can expect some rollover, like tap, 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 reload zone, breakout, right back in, tap, tap, reload zone, breaking out. Like, there are ways to trade these things. There's ways. Now, here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about risk, because this thing is a money printer and it's very exciting. And naturally, it's the most exciting for the people who got in the soonest and they have the least risk, and they may have already taken back their initial. And now there's, and so there's a few different risks I want to talk about, because you have to understand them. First of all, there's a risk that when something's changed in the protocol, that something goes wrong. And that's not unheard of. In fact, it already happened once. And in that sense, I'm actually feeling pretty confident that lessons were learned. And in this case, I think that's actually better news. The other thing you have to consider is that there will be attackers, right? There are things that just get like flash loans and weird little exploits that even auditors couldn't catch. Those always exist. And so you have to just remember, even when something seems like we're printing money, you pay yourself, you take profit, you get your initial back, you start small, whatever you need to do to mitigate risk. Because if these things, and I'm not talking specific to Dollar Protocol, I'm talking about like one of the other 18 that rugged in the last week. I mean, you just have to come into these things with a cool head, learn it, try it out, play with it a little bit. And if it is the thing that we're talking about, if it is this thing that we think it is, and there's going to be all these different assets that are all rebasing into shares, and everyone holding shares is going to get paid a little bit from everyone. Like, there's so much room to grow. You don't have to ape in at some ridiculous level here just to try to, get rich quick and throw yourself into the wind. Like, I think it's really important to just always keep that kind of shit in mind. And on that point, this is what bothers me right now, is that, bothers not the right word. This is what concerns me. First of all, it excites me because when you get success like ESD, and maybe for this, I'll go over here and just take a look at this section, which if you haven't seen, you can check this out. CoinGecko uses these tags. So there's a whole section, and this is growing actually every week. Mithril Share was just launched this week. There's a new one on here every week, and I'm sure this list is going to be quite long over the next few months, because what you're going to get when you have a successful thing, and like I said, everyone's searching for that perfect one, that holy grail protocol, and it doesn't exist yet. I mean, we think, there's dollar protocol looks great. There's some other ones, but like it hasn't not, there's no winner just yet. And so there's going to be a bunch of these coming out, and they're going to prey on, and I'm not talking about these ones, but there's some that aren't on this list that have come out, weird, sketchy ones. You guys name them in the chat. You probably heard about them in the last couple of days. Like, like other SDs, like whatever, these just total copycat clones. And some of them are like rugging overnight. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, if you think you found something that's strong, if you have an idea that's like, oh, that looks really good, like this is dope. Sometimes there's a temptation to then, like, there's a clone that comes out and it's like, hey, did you miss the ESD rally? Well, now you can get into DSD. And then, weeks later, hey, did you miss that rally? Now you can get into this one. And the further down that rabbit hole you go, like the further down the clone and copycat shit you go, the riskier it can get, if that makes sense. And so I think there's a lot of nefarious actors that will prey on people's things that they've missed the earliest days of these, and they'll try to ape into, the first 5 minutes of some new algorithmic stablecoin project. And there's just a lot of risk there. So just be careful. If, like, I think Synurid shares, I think Dollar Protocol is pretty solid. I'm comfortable with it. I'm not in a rush to like be first on some new one that, is some of these clone ones. And there might be a dope one coming out. I mean, do your research, but there was one that somebody mentioned to me yesterday. I should just check right now. BSD, Bull Set Finance. Like, I don't know, but like, were they planning that for months, or did they just create that last week because there's hype? And how much do we trust that? And should I be aping into that thing? Like, I don't know, probably not.
Walk before you run.
That's my rant. Walk before you run. Yeah. I mean, this shit is so exciting. So I guess I get so excited and fired up about it that I then feel obligated to like throw a fat, heavy, real talk disclaimer in, which is, as always, these things just, don't always necessarily age the way that you think they will. But if you can't tell, my exposure's up there. So it's probably why you'll keep hearing about it from us. And yeah, I think it's going to be a big in the next year. I'm pretty pumped about it. See how it goes.
Yep. Full send.
Full send. So keep an eye on it. It moves fast. Lots of changes like governance. I'm fully immersed in Dollar Protocol such that, I couldn't even wrap my head around like, oh, I'm going to go read up on DSD, right? I started yesterday. I came up with a little cheat sheet because I was like, fuck it. If it goes below 50 cents again, I'm probably just going to, get some and then whatever. But for now, I think specializing in one or two things that work well versus trying to like, spread out across these things because they are kind of volatile and they do go a little ham. It's been my strategy. So let's go check out a couple quick things. We are getting to the top of the hour. I just got a price alert. I don't know what that was for. Ooh, it's for my fun stock. Did this thing just bang out a double? Oh yeah, it did. Okay. Sweet. So fun. I missed my double by 1 cent the other day, and it looks like it just hit. So that's cool. Funware. Okay. ADA. Let's check out ADA. I hate that. Shout out to TradingView. Let's get that thing where if like an alarm goes off, every one of my tabs doesn't give me the same alarm.
God, I know.
Lord, save me. Okay. ADA. We had a request over here in the chat. It was 23 minutes ago. So shout out to Pro Julio if you are still here. Appreciate your time coming to hang with us today. If you guys haven't already, please shoot us a like, shoot us a sub on YouTube. We are here for you 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, usually get a guest on here, someone to come in and just spice things up and share their perspective. And then Wednesdays, Fridays, Nick and I are live every day at 2 p.m. Eastern. So hit us up in the comments too. I don't know, we didn't get a lot of comments on our YouTube. So if you guys have suggestions, feedbacks, things you liked, questions you have, we see those comments. We can happily respond to them and even adapt with some ideas that you guys bring. So don't be shy. ADA completed a harmonic objective. Apparently that's the last thing I was looking at on it. So that's pretty cool. Love how that works. I mean, look, came right into the level and that was the top. Let's see. Let's see. Sometimes I have to forget to remember to breathe. Let's just see. Oh, big levels on ADA. God, we're seeing so much of this. Like just these huge sort of weekly, like, you zoom out and some days it feels scary and other days you're just like overwhelmed, and then you just zoom out and you're like, oh, such a calm and cool collected bull market, like just forming here. High volume, new highs on volume as this broke 2 new highs. So that's really strong. Typically something you don't see at the tops of markets. Typically something you see before bigger continuations. So that's a good sign. Let's take a look here. What I can do as far as finding us ranges within this space. We're getting up into the midway point on our way back. You can see this 382 does like to act as a wall on both sides of the market, and it did put a little front run top in here. I would say my next target here, as far as like where I'm watching, if I'm trading it, look at that. You get those kind of alignments, and you even get some nice, arguably a little level there from the launch price. So, I mean, look, 25 cents. Let's take it to a quarter. That's almost a double. No, that's a lie. I was looking at 13 here. But yeah, it looks really bullish. It's not a candle right here that I buy, but definitely like it's a greater, the trend is bullish on ADA for sure. So, pump chaser zone, different ways to gain exposure. I always don't know the context question. It's like, hey, what do you think of the chart? And it's like, should I, am I holding? I don't know, but the chart is extremely bullish and really nice volume, as it kind of continued here. So could expect.
Oh, wait, what?
Could expect to see some continuation here.
I've seen a headline here. Coinbase sued over commissions for illegal XRP sales.
Whoa, pull that up. We got
being
all
reported.
this stuff happening live today.
It's an hour old, actually.
Let's see what that did. Anything to price? Nope. ETH just hit new highs again.
I just pulled it up here. They're hit with a class action lawsuit over receiving commissions from illicit XRP sales. The plaintiff, Thomas Sandoval, who's this guy? It's a class action. That's probably like the actual file listing. Yeah, here it is here. Filed in California. I'm not going to read this on stream.
Not at all. But something to look into.
But yeah, something to look into here after our stream.
Couldst thou narrate such from please, sir? Okay, guys, you know what? We're getting past top of the hour. Dare say it's getting a little selly in here, but algo coins, yeah, dot clear trends. I mean, yes, if you want to look Sigmar, I mean, I like Nick and I, generally you want to be investing in the macro trend and, have a thesis and really focus on that, because especially with the noise, maybe we'll go back to our screen here. Especially with the noise of all of the different coins and all of the different movement and 24/7 up, down, and everything's just everywhere. And if you're on Twitter, it could be overwhelming. But if you can sort of cement yourself into a greater thesis for the market, whether that is a bullish thesis, a bearish thesis, and then even diving in beyond that. So like, yes, okay, crypto looks really good for the next little while. It's looking great, and until it's not on a weekly, I'm pretty much maintaining bullish. But within that, yes, I think Polkadot is an obvious strong narrative. I mean, now it's easy to say because it just broke out to like $7-8, but it was an obvious and pretty strong narrative over the last few months. We've been talking about it off and on. I mean, you can't talk about it every day. Some days you just got to let it go and wait for it to happen. And so that kind of ecosystem, everything Polkadot, we expect to do pretty well. And then algo stable coins. Yeah. And there's definitely, look, I didn't mean to like bash like every new one that comes out now is a scam. But you just have to remember that a ton of things are created just because they're hot. And you've got to be aware of that nature of that, right? So it's like, oh, this came out, it did really well. And the founders of it got so rich. We could fork it, change one thing, launch it, and we'll get filthy rich. And that temptation is so strong, and it drives the wrong type of people. to create something. And so sometimes it's great and they create a fork and it goes really well and they don't rug it. But there will be many, 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 many rugs. And the richer and the greater and the better that the initial ones do and the size of it all gets, the greater those kinds of risks are. So just be careful trying to be the first to the newest one, because those newest ones tend to get weaker as time goes on. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
I think I said that like twice today, so just harping. But yeah, Sigmar, great eye. I mean, ultimately TLDR today, thinking about the macro trend into 2021, algorithmic stablecoins, Polkadot. Is there anything else?
No, it's basically
10 years? Let's take a look. And then crypto stocks. I think they're kind of bubbled right now a little bit. I'm a little standoffish, taking profits on some, if anything. But there will be dips, and I will be buying them probably.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's it. Yeah, and there might be new crypto companies. I mean, I guess if they're launching in this kind of environment, they're coming out maybe overvalued, but something to keep an eye on. Always looking for exposure to things that I think will do well. And holding and buying your own crypto is probably the sexiest way to participate. But hey, got a little retirement account. I threw some little stink bids in the spring, and it's a more regulated way to get exposure to funds. So anyways, we're going to be back on Friday, and it will be, wait, are we? It's going to be New Year's Day. What do you think?
Maybe.
Okay. Hot maybe from, we're okay. Producer says we're going to play it by ear. If anything, I may actually just, I'm not planning too many crazy things for New Year's Eve. So I might just be saying, like, fuck it. Worst case, I'll come on solo. But hey, guys, next time we see you, it is going to be 2021. So happy New Year. It's been a crazy year. It's been an exciting year. And, to anyone who wishes for a little more out of themselves and their account over the next year, stick around, because we're going to be working on ways to improve ourselves as traders and analysts and just really crush this entire next year. And I'm really excited to kick it off with you guys in a few days, or a few more days. We'll find out on Friday afternoon. We'll tweet it out at Real Hero Labs on Twitter. So that's it. Until next time, guys, always play from a position of strength. Take care.
Have a good one. ETH bullish above 744.